Ross Chastain used the wall all the way around this racetrack.
Logano has been the class of the field.
Check out the big brain on Brad.
Yeah, I need to change my underwear.
With practice and qualifying done from Michigan, Brian and I are in to break down everything you need to know for the Firekeepers Casino 400. We'll talk all things DraftKings, giving you our thoughts, building some lineups, running through the player pool. We'll also look at the updated outright odds. Is there value in market? We'll try and get as much information as possible. It is nice to be recording this really early out here on the West Coast. Thank you for having a crack of dawn practice and qualifying. Brian was up, I'm sure, earlier than I was watching trucks practice. I made it up for the Cup Series. I saw all of practice and all of qualifying. It was great. Brian Twining, live from Las Vegas. How are you, buddy?
I was actually awake at 4:57 a.m. in time to load up the raw feed, which wasn't working all day, by the way. And before the sun, my cup of coffee ready, right as trucks began qualifying. It's been a glorious morning so far this Saturday, all capped off by what turned into an absolute shit show of a trucks race.
Shocking nobody. Yeah, so let's jump into it. I'll pull up DraftKings. Before we do that, click subscribe if you get to do that. A lot of you are watching every week, not subscribing. Would appreciate if you could do that. Costs you nothing, helps us out tremendously. I will pull up DraftKings. We can run through the player pool. You can give me your thoughts on what you saw. I obviously have my thoughts. I have practice reports from our friends over at Win the Race. We have a few nuggets we can hit on as we kind of go through it. With that being said, Kyle Larson starting 5th, 11K. Danny Hamlin starting 3rd, still on baby watch.
Yep.
10-7. Ryan Blaney starting 13th at 10-5. Christopher Bell starting 25th at 10-2. And William Wyron starting 4th at even 10K. Obviously, the who's who once again, Brian. Who's standing out to you from this group?
Well, if you go back in past races here at Michigan, guys starting on the front 2 rows have really kind of controlled the race winning position here. So obviously guys like Larson, Hamlin, and Byron fit that mold immediately just by looking at this. But for what it's worth, Christopher Bell was on a heater of a lap during qualifying and probably went in a little bit too shallow, which is why he had to get out of the gas and he wound up qualifying as poorly as he did, because he was going to be right up there, possibly on the front row with Chase Briscoe. So, I immediately gravitate to Bell. I just think that a race like this, 2-mile track, that, I don't think tires are going to be that big of a factor. I trust Adam Stevens and the 20 team to be able to find a way to get a good result. And so I think Christopher Bell is going to make for a fine play, which is kind of going against what a lot of other people are going to say and taking Denny here, because Hamlin is kind of due in this package.
I mean, por que no los dos? Why not both?
Yeah.
I think that's an incredible way to start. I know it's going to be expensive and use a lot of your budget, but Bell's going to be extremely popular, and I think for good reason. As you pointed out, had he not kind of had issues in his qualifying lap, he would be starting maybe with these guys, maybe with the Hamlin, Larson, Byron group.
And then one more thing too, I think it's also important to tell people or even note, like if you did not watch practice today, or even if you did, we got to remember that after we saw Shane Van Gisbergen have a tire go down in the first group, there was talk of a lot of teams being a little bit more conservative in group 2 and maybe running a little bit higher tire pressure to begin the session. So maybe their practice doesn't necessarily pop off the page, but because they were kind of leaning more on the safe side, as opposed to what we saw with, a guy like Tyler Reddick, who looked extremely fast, wound up having a tire go down, or Ryan Blaney, who started on the conservative side in his run, but also had a tire go down because he was getting faster, like he also had a tire go down. So, practice is what it is. And obviously there's a lot to take away from that, but I do not think it's the end all this week here in Michigan.
I think that's a great point, and everybody practices differently. But I think, especially with tire issues, and that kind of messing up the runs for some of these people, and then just having getting everything back on the track, and then as you pointed out to me astutely, there's a potential that Tyler Reddick goes to the back with a diffuser issue.
Yep.
Obviously, we'll see, and kind of as Sunday morning rolls around, what Pockrass is saying and what information we get out overnight, but. He's incredibly compelling. He was really fast. He looked really good in practice. There's obviously some optimism about him coming in, but if he has to go to the back, all of a sudden your expectations for him is completely changed. So that is interesting. I guess I'm with you in terms of Bell, and I think he makes a lot of sense. But in terms of the Larson, Hamlin, Byron group, is it Denny for you, or is Denny your kind of assumed consensus, and you'd actually go with one of the Hendrick guys?
Oh, man. Well, I think Byron is kind of starting in the position that you expect him to run all day. We haven't seen Willie B be able to take a win at any point this year, last year, previous years. They kind of fall into his lap, or he just starts in the front and then gives them away. So I don't want to go that direction. The only guy would be Larson, who, how do you count him out on a track where it's all about top end speed? I mean,
Yeah.
there hasn't been a single guy as fast as Larson in this package.
Yeah,
Season.
Byron is obviously compelling, but as you mentioned, he's kind of one of those guys that when he has the track position, he's awesome.
Exactly.
As soon as that car gets mired in traffic and he's 12th, he's just kind of there. And like coming back to the front isn't really something he's really been good at. And then between Darlington and Coke
Nashville.
600,
Oh
he
yeah,
just
Charlotte.
Charlotte. 80% of just first passed. So
When it
yeah,
matters most, too.
yeah. I think I'm gonna try and get some Hendrick guys, but the Hamlin Bell start seems really, really fun, and I'll definitely push us into that with one of our builds for sure. We hit a little Reddick, but we also have Chastain, Logano, and Chase Elliott in the 9K, and then we'll dip into the 8K with Chase Briscoe, Kyle Busch, Carson Hocevar, and Chris. We'll stop there because Buescher's the next range. So Hocevar, Busch, Briscoe, Elliott, Logano, Chastain. Of those 6 guys, who's somebody that you're drawn to from this group, or does this group being priced where they are and given where they're starting and all that stuff actually make you more excited to go up, grab some more expensive guys, or drop down and kind of let the flies come into this zone?
Yeah, the way that this range kind of worked out and where they're starting, I'm kind of looking at this as an avoid spot here because Logano, maybe he didn't look fast in practice, but this has become the norm for him where they don't fire off good. But again, like we've seen the last couple of tracks in this package, his fall off was non-existent. So I think he's going to be fine. However, he doesn't have that top end speed to necessarily win. So it's going to need strategy for him, which he's probably the best at, but it's hard to bank on that. Chase Elliott he's AA's for a reason on this show. And so I really don't want to go that direction. And Chastain.
Can we just pause for a second and talk about like how ahead of the curve we were on Chase Elliott just being like average? Like he's Chase Elliott average, right?
Exactly. I was just gonna say he's better than average.
He's not Ryan Preece. He's not like Corey LaJoy. Like we understand, but like when we started giving him that name, he was in the conversation for the most expensive drivers, the shortest odds on the board, the people were trying to jam in, and we're like, he's fine. He's gonna finish between 6th and 12th and be a solid finisher, but like he's not somebody that's driving to the front outside of maybe a handful of races.
And I've fallen for it maybe once this year, and like it's no.
So I just little pat on the back for us. But yeah, it's an interesting group. Even like I pulled up Logano stats. Like he's had He's had a couple races where he's like really popped off, like the Worth 400, but
Yeah.
he's just kind of there. Like he's not great, he's not bad. He's somebody that I much prefer to bet than to use in DraftKings.
Yes.
Because like I
100%.
feel like if he wins and he's really good, he's stealing track position, he's doing strategy stuff. He's
Oh,
not driving to the front, leading a bunch of laps, having fastest laps, and just dog walking the field. So it's
well,
hard
I
for
was
me
just
to
going to say too, even in Texas,
yeah.
when you go and you look at the peripherals of that race, he was not even close to a race winning car there.
Yeah. So yeah, he's an easy avoid. Elliott, I mean, I could see yourself top, but like what's his real upside? Like 8th, 7th, 4th? Like I mean, I don't know. Starting 17th moving forward. I don't know. Chastain, I think, is a little more interesting, but he didn't really have all that speed. So
Let's just
Reddick's
say this,
definitely the guy from the 9K range, but
unless he goes to the back, first of
unless he
all.
goes to the back.
But
So
I was just going to say, I would rather play Carson Hocevar over every single person in this 8K range, despite him starting 14th, based on what we've seen him be able to do in this package
yeah.
in terms of driving to the front.
I agree. 7K. Christopher Busher, Bubba Wallace, Alex Bowman, Brad Keselowski, Joshua Berry, Austin Cindric, Ryan Preece. Bowman. I I don't think I can do it to myself again, but if you do it, I wouldn't blame you.
Yeah.
Brad was extremely good. Very little fall off. This is a place where RFK is awesome. Bubba, we'll see. Not amazing, not terrible. Busher starting 6th. Maybe more of a betting angle. I don't know if I love him for DraftKings, given where he's starting, given his price tag. Priest, once again, we talk about it. If you like RFK,
Yep.
you like Brad, just go with Ryan Priest, save yourself. Although he's starting 23rd and he's basically the same price, so Keselowski's gonna be a much easier click. Of the 7K range, what's the interesting targets for you?
Just Sharpie all three RFK guys in there because when one shows up with long run speed, they all tend to kind of gravitate towards that setup for the race day. And when you have Busher arriving in Michigan with the qualifying speed that he did, I think some adjustments can be made to both the 60 and the 6 to maybe give them better top end speed to go along with their ride quality, which they clearly had. So, yeah, it's just a little bit easier to click these guys because you have Busher, who looks like he has a car that can contend for the win, potentially be a under the radar dominator, and then you'd get Brad and Priest with good potential for placement differential.
Yeah, and I mean, just looking at projections and ownership and whatnot from our friends over at Win the Race, like there's not a huge gap between the guys that are in the 8K range and the guys that are in the 7K range, but outside of Keselowski, they're going to come with significantly less ownership. I don't know. I'm in on Busher, I'm in on Bubba, Bowman, I'm in on Keselowski,
Bowman's
Ryan
hard
Preece.
because he's it's hard to look at Bowman objectively.
He's burned me 2 weeks in a row, and I
Yes,
can't have a real take on him. But
exactly. Yeah, you're
he's in
bitter.
a Hendrick car. He should be fast, but he's should have been fast the last 2 weeks, and he's crashed in stage 1 and cost me a significant head-to-head bet. So
Yeah.
that is where my mindset's coming from. Ty Gibbs, Eric Jones, Daniel Suarez, AJ Allmendinger, Zane Smith, Austin Dillon, Michael McDowell, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Are we doing it again with me, amigo? Like starting 35th? Even last week where he wasn't that good. He started in the back. He finished 16th. He had a fastest lap, and he was really solid at his $6,900 price tag. Now he's 66, still in the back. This is a place where people had some kind of top 10 optimism for him. I know he wasn't great, but starting 35th in a reliable ride can move forward, even if it's like 14th.
Yeah.
I think that's fine, especially at his price.
Yeah, I think Suarez is definitely an easier click in cash. Maybe not like to the extent of a upper echelon guy where he's going to be like 90% rostered, but he's going to be like a 50+% guy in cash lineups. I'm a little weary of him with Mexico City on the horizon. There's no doubt in my mind that Trackhouse's goal next weekend is to give Daniel Suarez the best car possible. And part of me thinks that they've been looking forward to that race in the same way that, say, a team that's already locked their position in the championship race does after they've already clinched that spot in the races leading up to it. So not that Suarez is not going to be good, but I think he's already like 1 foot forward towards Mexico City. And so is the team as well.
The whole
So,
Trackhouse team, they're all going to be, I mean, there are 4 cars running, but they're going to have
oh yeah,
4 of the top, 10, 12 guys.
100%.
I think they're very much in play. And yeah, it's all like you said, it's not that they're just completely punting this week, but they're already thinking about that. And if something happens and they get stuck in traffic and they have an accident, they're okay, on to Mexico City. We don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, and another thing too is that Suarez is probably going to be pretty heavily rostered this week. And so if you want to be a little bit different based on where they're starting, because I'm sure a lot of people are going to kind of be scared off by this, but from what I saw in practice, Toyota as a whole, they look great in the practice session. Now, how that translates to the race day when it's supposed to be a little bit warmer, I'm not exactly sure, but Eric Jones came into the week. A lot of optimism from bettors and that team. John Hunter Nemechek was the second best car, not that far off from Ty Gibbs in the first group of practice today, and they're both starting in that 20 range. Part of me thinks you could kind of get different by playing one of them instead of Suarez, obviously surrendering 14 placement points, but I think they have a legit potential to top 10 where Daniel Suarez needs more of like chaos for him to get up into that range and even have like fastest laps and that type of stuff.
Yeah, and we've seen him, like, in theory, be in a really good spot to move forward and make noise. And even if he's like 14th or 15th or 16th, having a really strong day. But if 30% of the field or 25% of the field is on him and you can pivot off him where he could easily just be 28th and wreck after lap 180 and kind of not be a factor all day, I don't think that's crazy. And it's all about, how am I building? Am I building cash? Am I building tournaments? Have I gotten unique enough elsewhere where it doesn't matter? I can jam him in, but he is going to be like probably one of the best points per dollar plays on the slate. It's also, I think, just looking at kind of like the 6K guys, like I think it's going to be a really easy week to get heavy at the top because you can get into I think Stenhouse is fine. I think McDowell is fine.
You didn't even say my favorite one here. This is an 83 track for sure.
Yeah, 83 stacks, put them in.
Yeah, like especially with how good Kyle Busch looked in qualifying, and then this is the type of place that 83 has traditionally ran like in the mid-teens or lower teens, and starting 28th. I mean, top 20 is not out of the question here, and you're saving, $400, $300. That could go a long way when trying to squeeze in the most expensive guys.
Yeah, and as we continue into the 5Ks, Gragson makes sense, as you mentioned with John Hunter. Legacy might be decent. Like, they've been clearly improved.
Yeah.
They had speed. He's starting 21st, which is a little uncomfortable. But Gillen, Haley, SVG, Herbst, Custer, Ty Dillon, Cody Ware, like, you can make the case for a lot of these guys if you wanted to kind of go stars and scrubs and kind of balance your lineup out that way.
Now, I will say I am not playing Cole Custer or Ty Dillon with where they're starting. Those are non-starters. Yeah. Like, I don't think you can get there with either of those two guys. And even Shane Van Gisbergen.
I think Dillon, Custer, and probably even Riley are kind of are out. But like, Ware is fine. SVG is okay. Haley's good. Gillen's good. Gragson's good, Stenhouse is good, McDowell's good, 83 is good. Like it's just a matter of figuring out which of this combination down here to make your lineups work.
Yeah, no, 100%. And then, like I was saying with Van Gisbergen, similar to Suarez, I know SVG has looked much better on the 1.5s, but also too, I'm sure he's very excited to get off of an oval and headed to a street course where it's assumed that he has an advantage over everybody else. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to be bad by any means, but starting 26th already, I think you kind of miss out on the potential that he has presented the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, he's like barely top 20 guys, so you're moving up like 5-6 spots. It's not really worth.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's build some lineups and let's go up to the top. Let's click Denny Hamlin. Let's click Christopher Bell, and let's see what else we want to do from there. So we can dive down and find our scrubs and then kind of come back up if you want, or we can shove Brad in here and then go build. I mean, what do you want to
do? Let's do Buescher.
Okay, so there's our second Dominator. Buescher at 7,800, I think makes some sense. Let's see.
I'm gonna jump you here, and we're gonna play Keselowski in this too.
Okay, I love it. Push me, because I mean, I started Hamlin Bell, so that's fine. We're each 2 picks in now. So we have 6,900 for each of our 2 remaining spots. Do you have a name pressing that you want to make sure, or that you're excited to play, or you think would make sense with this lineup? Like Gragson starting 29th at 5,900. Maybe people got burned a little bit last week. The Austin Dillon thing I'm good with.
Yeah, honestly, I don't mind playing either Dillon, Gragson, McDowell. I think you can just plug them in because now you're able to kind of squeeze as many higher price, like potential race winning type.
Well, let's do this then. Since we're comfortable with so many names down there, let's go up and grab the name that we want so we can come back down. So, like,
okay,
you mentioned Carson Hocevar. He's starting 14th. He's 8K. Bowman 16th at 7,600. Priest, we talked about our like for the way we're RFK. We already have Buescher and Keselowski, so I'd be good with going to him at 7K. And then Eric Jones starting 22nd is kind of a little bit of a unique piece. Since we are going with, Denny and Bell and Kez, it might be good to be a little bit different. So I guess, is there a name of the ones that I kind of just mentioned that you are particularly drawn to?
I mean, Bowman. I know you don't want to play him, but
I mean, yeah, I'll go throw up in the corner and come back, but yeah, that's fine. And then it's a matter of McDowell, Stenhouse, Gragson, Nemechek.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't mind playing any one of those guys. It's basically you're picking which one of them is going to last the longest in the race.
Yeah. I think. Let's see here.
I mean, we could even go down to Justin Haley just with the idea of we want a survivor as opposed to a guy who's going to be aggressive.
So I think my vote is Gragson and then Stenhouse.
Okay.
Are you good with Gragson?
Yeah. I don't.
Cool. Let's put him in. Well, Hamlin, Bell, Buescher, Keselowski, Bowman, Gragson. I like that lineup.
That lineup feels really good.
I know. I mean, it's going to suck.
I was just going to say they're definitely all wrecking.
Yeah. Or it's going to be like Cash Game Week a couple weeks ago where like everybody had the same lineup in Cash and it was just like, a train. Okay. Wide open. Anybody you want, give me a name.
Well, we can't build without having a Larson lineup.
Okay. I mean, for what it's worth, we can, but yeah, no, I agree. I think I'm just going to click Bell again. It's going to be similar idea, but I think it is a good week to go stars and scrubs. I think Bell is the click from the top. If you're looking for kind of somebody towards the back to move forward, he's going to be popular, but He's good chalk. He's not bad chalk.
Yeah,
He's not
all
Daniel
right.
Suarez.
I was just gonna say, all right, let's play Suarez.
He's not Daniel Suarez. We're gonna play Ross Chastain.
Oh, this is just gross.
I just want to see where it gets us.
Okay. Oh, hold on. I actually like where this is going. Since we're playing, we have pretty much like a chalky lineup. This is gonna kill the lineup, and it's going against every bit of advice that I've been telling people the last week plus. We're gonna play Ty Gibbs in this build. If Ty Gibbs shows up Sunday with
That
what
feels like
he brought to the track on Saturday,
that feels like if yeah, it just feels like a big if.
but that's the thing though, is that betting wise, I'm not touching this guy with a 10-foot pole. I wouldn't bet your money on
But see,
Gibbs.
like I think he makes way more sense in the betting market where you can shoot for the moon, and if he crashes, then
But you
whatever.
can't. That's the thing. Like, books have taken notice of the speed that he brought this weekend. He's like 14, 15 to 1 now to win the race. So, like, I'm not touching those numbers. That being said, we're not the only ones who have been betting or been on the side of the 54 this year numerous times, only for him to burn us. And with him starting 8th, I don't think there's going to be a lot of people that want to get involved with him again in DFS. And if the speed is there on Sunday that we showed on Saturday, there's a legit shot that this is one of his better races and he looks more like the 2024 Gibbs than this year. And maybe he's leading 40 laps this race and finishing second or third. And then you're having such a large leg up on the field because they avoided him.
Gross. Just
Gross, and that's what does it. I mean,
but I think that's a good example of showing you like you don't have to have 6 unique options in your lineups. You have to have one pivot that's not kind of what everyone else is doing, and we'll see where Gibbs ownership falls.
well, according to Win the Race, this projected roster percentage is fairly light compared to other guys that looked as good as he did in practice.
Yeah, that's fair. All right.
83.
Sure. So I'm gonna put Tyler Reddick in here with the caveat of him actually starting 12th.
Okay.
If he does not start 12th, he will be coming out and someone else will be going in. We'll see where that ends up. I guess we need to figure out what we want. At least one dominator, because I'm like tempted to put Blaney in, but then
I was just gonna say nobody was really on Blaney last week. There were a few people, and then all of a sudden, he's just there. And one thing that I noticed in practice, which he's gotten so good at, is that car was getting better the later in the run.
Yeah. So, Busher.
What if we go back to Keselowski here?
We can.
Because I think with having Reddick and Blaney, you already have 2 guys that we're expecting to drive to the front.
Yeah, but we need somebody as an early dominator. That's why I like Busher. And this could honestly, like, if we go back and take Ty Gibbs out of the other lineup, but he's turning 8th. It's gonna be hard for him to get to the front.
You could put Briscoe in here. What is Briscoe? I mean, he's 8,500. I just don't have any faith in Briscoe to stay up front.
No, he's gonna do what he did last week, where he starts up front, he looks okay for like half of the first stage, and then he's out.
Yeah.
No, I think it's Busher or Bubba or both, because we can do both, and then we have 2 early dominators. And we have the 2311 corollary. We have the RCR stuff. More
Man,
Ford action.
if you told me that starting from drivers 2 through 6 in this finished 1 through 5, I would not be that shocked.
No, it could easily be a couple like Brad, like 8th, Busher 1st or 2nd, Reddick right there, Blaney, that's
Right
some
there.
those guys top 3,
Yeah.
Bubba right there. Like there's a lot you could do with this. All right.
Well, and then, like, I think a lot of this too, what's gonna be difficult this week as compared to the previous races at Michigan, something that's been kind of on my mind all week is that we're running this race almost 5, 6 weeks sooner than what we have in past seasons. So
Yep.
we're not anywhere near as close to the playoffs as we were the last times we've been coming
Right.
here, where guys were literally driving for their playoff lives. Whereas now they're in a race where they could be a little more cautious and just try to get points as opposed to racing more aggressively at the end for a race win or a better finish. They can take that 11th as opposed to trying to get up to 7th or 8th because they need those tiny little movements.
Yeah, well, and it's also like this is kind of a spot like traditionally where Hendrick especially will kind of just
Well,
not
this is
really.
like, yeah, it's because
They're
it's at the
already
back end of
thinking
the
3
summer
races
stretch.
ahead,
Yeah.
getting ready for the playoffs. So I think that's a great point. So 3 lineups: Hamlin, Bell, Busher, Bowman, Keselowski, Gregson, Larson, Bell, Chastain, Gibbs, Suarez, Gillen, Blaney, Reddick, Busher, Wallace, Keselowski, Dillon. So
Woohoo!
those are our 3 lineups. If you have questions, if you have thoughts, if you have a favorite driver from, say, like the 7K range, because there's a lot of compelling names in there, drop them in the comments. Let us know what you think. I will pull up the outright odds. I'm going to refresh this just to see if we've moved it all, and we can kind of go through some of the options. Larson 475, or wait, no, Hamlin 4. I'm so used to just saying Larson and going. Hamlin 475, Larson 550, Reddick 650, Byron 8, Blaney 10. That's 10 and below. Anything that you're compelled to pull trigger on, or by the time we post the newsletter, aoppodcast.substack.com, aoppodcast.substack.com, comes out every race day. By the time that hits, we'll be on your betting card.
Well, I got it in Vegas at a larger number, but I will be adding Kyle Larson to some extent. We don't normally see Larson's lines this long post practice and qualifying at a track where we're in the intermediate package. And so I'm gonna just try to find. I think there's a 6 out here somewhere that I'm gonna play Larson. Yeah, MGM currently has Larson at 6. So that is a number that I'm all over. I actually played that pre-practice and qualifying, to be fair. So if you haven't played Larson yet, starting 5th, he did nothing in practice to say that his car is not good enough to win. And this is a guy who is routinely the fastest car in this package, let alone the fact that he won here 3 times before Ford went on their crazy ass run.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's completely fair. And given what we've seen from him the last couple weeks, it seems like he's due for an ass kicking. Reddick's interesting, but that 650 is probably too short for me. And we talked about it on the betting show, but like we've been burned too much by him. It's honestly Byron and Blaney are the 2 that are interesting to me, but like Blaney had all the magic happen and like his car didn't explode and all that stuff, and his was already popping off this week. So it's like, can you really bet Ryan Blaney? So I don't know. I'm probably gonna get involved somewhere. I probably should. Let me pull up our current bets. And I can give the people a little preview into where we're at right now. So I have Bubba at 28 and Eric Jones at 66, and then just bump Bubba and Jones at top 10s. Brian has Wallace for the win, top 10, and over Briscoe from pre, and then he just obviously added the Larson at 6. Are you in at like 550, 525, 5 on Larson, or does it have to start with a 6?
I mean, preferably,
The closer to what, like, I guess, what would be your last buy point if people are watching this Sunday, 2 hours before race day, and Larson's 5-1? Would you bet it?
let me just say this. We've already seen it once this year that Larson is I would say, the only guy in the field that can go out there and make the rest of the Cup Series look like they're Xfinity drivers in this package. So getting in on the 5 at 5 is not a bad look, in my
Because
opinion.
if you have, say, you have live betting options, the odds of him like jumping to the front, getting out, and that number being 3 or 350 is pretty high.
I was just going to say he's going to shorten to in the twos. If he gets
that's
to the
going to
front
come quickly. So if you do want to get in on Larson,
yeah.
I think you have to do it before the race starts.
And I think it's also important to remember that even while betting live, the only time Larson's number floats beyond like that 5 to 7 range is if he goes like multiple laps down. And even at a lap down, books will keep him in the single digits, knowing that once he gets back on the lead lap, unless he has damage, obviously, like if he gets back on the lead lap, he's going to be one of the best cars on the track, and they'll figure out a way to get back to the front. So
yeah, like when I think it was the Coke 600 where he crashed for like on the first couple laps, he was between like 8 and 12, like down multiple laps, no tires and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It just tells you like the expectation, so they know even if they hang up at like a long number, it's going to get pounded.
Yeah. You can everybody can take this with a grain of salt, but Larson is my biggest exposure as we record this right now.
Okay. Gibbs, Buescher, Bell, Briscoe, Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski. The book Caesar's like, I don't know. Let's make them all 18. Joey Logano, Bubba Wallace, Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, all 18. Briscoe is 15. Bell is 12. Buescher is 12. Gibbs is 12. Gibbs being 12 is
asinine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not touching that number. Like I was saying, Buescher at 12 is a little scary. I know he's longer elsewhere, so do some shopping.
Do you have interest in Gibbs, Buescher, or Bell's different category, but like Gibbs or Buescher at 15, 18, 20?
I would play Buescher over Gibbs at any number.
Okay.
Any day of the week. I'm not touching Gibbs anywhere inside like 30 at this point in his career. So
yeah, Buescher is interesting. 12 is probably too short, but if you can get it north of 15 and you want some Buescher on your card, I think that makes sense.
Let me just say this about Christopher Bell too. We've been doing this for the past couple of weeks, and he hasn't been necessarily the fastest guy, but he continues to just show up towards the end of these races. And like I was saying in qualifying, had he put it on the front row based on his like 10 lap average, which was one of the best in Group 2, his number is probably in the single digits. So I also don't hate playing Bell at 12 right now.
He was somebody that, like when we started the season, won 3 races in a row, and every week he was like 3 or 4 to 1 to win the race. And now he's had a couple like fine results, like nothing terrible. He actually, what was he like a couple weeks ago? He was like second at Charlotte, and then like third the week before or something. I don't know.
He like I was saying in the DFS part, this team has just gotten so skilled at getting the maximum results for what type of car they brought to the track that weekend. And, I would not ever bet against the 20 team.
I'm betting Christopher Bell this week. That's who I'm adding. Is 12 the best number I can get?
I believe so. I'm doing.
And as you mentioned with your when we started, you were really impressed by the Toyotas.
Yes, Toyota looked fantastic in practice. Now, obviously, higher temperatures tomorrow or today as you're watching this than during practice. So we'll see how that translates. But they also had very limited fall off compared to everybody else, despite firing off faster as well. So this could be another case of what we saw, the last couple of times we've been in this package where the Toyotas just kind of look a little bit better than everybody during the race. Yeah, Bell is 12 everywhere.
Okay. Welcome to the betting card, Christopher Bell. This will be the week where he stinks it up and is just awful all day, but that's okay. Are you interested in any of the Elliott, Bush, Keselowski, Wallace, Logano at north of 20 if you can get 20 or better?
Absolutely not. Keselowski priced inside 20. Dude hasn't won in forever.
Yeah.
I would rather play Hocevar at 25 if we're being honest. Just based on what we've seen recently, the overall speed, like just ability to drive to the front and get there quick, Hocevar is way better than all of these guys at the moment. And so I would rather play that and then try to add Keselowski live if he somehow avoids going a lap down or, he does actually look good from the get-go.
Yep. And it looks like Bell's already gone to like 10 or 11 a lot of places, so I'm happy to grab 12. It looks like you can get Bubba at 26, which I think is really interesting.
Is that FanDuel?
FanDuel, yeah, I'd be in on that.
Let me see if that's a live number.
Yeah, see if that's live, because they still have Gibbs at 34, and that doesn't seem right.
Yeah, they don't have lines yet, FanDuel. Of course not. Why would they? We had practice and qualifying like 8 hours ago, so
yeah, and they were really good for a while. It's really kind of annoying.
Whatever.
Yeah, I'm with you. Hocevar, if you miss the initial wave, I think if you can get him north of 25 is fine. I think he's fun. Barry Cindric, Zane Smith, Ryan Preece, Eric Jones is back to 100. Daniel Suarez 125. AD3 stacks 125. Any longer shots that you're throw $10 on, see what happens?
I still think Eric Jones and even John Nemechek would be worth some couch change with teams very similar to what happened with Stuart Friesen today in the trucks. Like, this seems like the type of race where if stuff falls the right way, they can kind of luck box their way into late track position and a surprise victory. So I don't mind hitting some guys that have shown well in past races in this package. So, I mean, that doesn't necessarily include Austin Dillon, but I think AJ Allmendinger again at 125, I think makes a little bit of sense. Even McDowell at 150 is decent.
Yeah. And it's also good because like it adds a lot of potential in there, like top 10 market matchups, group betting, that kind of stuff. I was tempted to add a little more Eric Jones because we only got 66, or I only got 66, but I think I'm going to look at like top 10 or top 5 or something like a supplementary market. Probably not top Toyota, just because I like Bell and I like Reddick and I like, a lot of those kind of guys. So it's hard for me to really get there. But if he pops and he doesn't quite get there, I like to get a little bit of a payout. So I'm going to look into that. Okay, Brian Twining, any other thoughts, targets, people you're going to be going after? I'll pull up the betting card as it sits right now while we mention that. Obviously, like I mentioned, our Substack will have our final betting card. It will have all of our DraftKings write-ups. It'll have grid rival picks. It'll have all this stuff. It's not even 3:00 out here on the West Coast. We got so much time for activities. I'm going to try and get this posted quickly so you guys can watch it. If you're new to the AOP, the Angle of Pursuit, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're watching. Make sure you go check out our friends over at Win the Race. As Brian mentioned, The Discord is popping. People have thoughts in there. Good tools on the site. But the community is kind of where it's at. So make sure you jump in there. So as I mentioned, I added Chris Bell to go with my Bubba Wallace and my Eric Jones, and I have Wallace and Jones top 10s. Clearly going to be adding exposure, looking for top 10s, looking for matchups, looking for other options as markets become available. Brian added Larson at 6. He had Wallace top 10 and Wallace over Briscoe. Anyone front of mind that you're going to be trying to get exposure to? You're not really sure how, but you're looking, or is it just kind of, let's see what the market gives us and we'll go from there?
Yeah, it's definitely got to be the 17.
Yeah, I think
most
that's it.
numbers that are available a little bit short for my liking, just based on like who else is available in a similar range or guys.
Yeah, have you seen any top forward markets?
Oh yeah, he's cooked. He's like 3 or 3.25.
He was what, like 6 or 7 or 8, depending on where you looked.
Which honestly is not terrible.
But it was a little too short for us to pull, especially after having it the week before and him just kind of not really doing it, and RFK not being the qualifying warriors that we want to see.
Yeah. So it's going to be difficult, but I would like to have a little bit of Buescher action for sure.
Christopher Bell is 5-1 to be top Toyota, and Ty Gibbs is 650. What are we doing? What are we doing? Chris Bell top Toyota will be going on the card.
Oh,
but it's like
man.
Reddick's good and Hamlin's good, and man, I'm gonna I might just bet Toyota to win.
Oh no.
Plus 145.
There's a lot of people, like, hats off to Phil from Full Tank with Phil podcast. He does this every week. He builds his card around a manufacturer and then protects against it, which I think is a brilliant strategy going into a race. I don't have the gumption to do that just because, like, you got to lay a significant amount on a manufacturer to win, especially when they're priced like they are, like a Toyota at plus 145.
Yeah.
And it bit me in the ass earlier this year when I played Chevy. So,
Yeah, but it also, when I played Chevy instead of playing Hendrick and got the Ross win at
yeah, that's okay. Well, touche. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know.
Our friends over Win the Race do show value on it, so
it's not the market for me. I'll just say that.
Yeah, it's all, it's about how you want to get down.
Yeah.
But if you're like building your card and you're like, oh, I like Christopher Bell and I like Denny Hamlin and I like Tyler Reddick and I like Bubba Wallace and I like Chase Briscoe and I just like Toyota. They need to be on the card, so I'm going to add it. That is, and I'm probably going to get burned, and then it'll be fun. But I'm adding Toyota to win. I'm going to look for the best number. I think Caesar's 145 is probably the best, but it's going on the card. So that way when Denny wins or when Reddick wins and I don't have them outright, I won't feel as bad. So I'm going to post this on Saturday. We usually post day of the race if you're new to the pod, but because of early qualifying, because I'm going to go do some night golf, I want to get as much done and out of the way as possible. That's Brian Twining. I'm Kyle Robert. Make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you hit subscribe and drop some comments. Let us know. Are you getting involved at the top of the betting board? Are you playing DraftKings, and who's your favorite driver in like the 7K range? Or even 6K. Like, you can go down and get in. There's a bunch of really fun names. Just a matter of figuring out who that is.
And don't forget to play at Grid Rival,
yes,
where they have finishing position over-unders. They have driver matchups, and you get your first deposit match up to $100 there. The games are fun. I think you can still join our free league as well, and you get whatever the lowest current score is as your beginning score. So
yeah, so you do it. You're not starting with nothing, but we got to figure out a prize for that. So we'll work on that. Yeah, jump in, have fun. Let's get going, and let's make some money this week. That's Brian Twining. I'm Kyle Robert. We'll be back on Tuesday in your feed on Wednesday to recap all that was and get you set for Mexico City, where we'll be talking a lot of Trackhouse, I feel. We'll talk to you next time.